Maybe it's not fair, maybe it's just so burned into my brain at this point that I can't be objective about it. But when has this channel really ever been about being 100% objective all the time? The main Harry Potter theme, called Hedwig's theme, I guess, is one of the most original and recognizable cues up there with Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, and Indiana Jones. I guarantee 90% of you can hum all 4 of those themes right now. Do it. Hum them. And then try to do the original Superman theme after Star Wars. Bet you can't. Longest opening win ever! And all the book fans took a long sigh. Phew, so far so good. They got the Dursley street name right. Nothing like creepily emerging from the woods to establish your wizardry. Wizardness? Wizardtion? A little inside track for the viewers later on. Alright everybody, hold on to your hats. There is magic and there are magical devices in this universe. I call this one the reverse lightsaber. The Illuminator? Yeah, that makes more sense. Yeah, turning into a tabby cat is cool, but this shadow alludes to her ability to turn into a mountain lion-sized cat. So, yeah. Who came back to this movie recently and kept waiting for the Dowager Countess to throw shade on Dumbledore for his unkempt beard and improper attire? Alright, there's flying motorcycles, it's magic everyone. We can, there's the Dowager. Oh, and also a pair of beautiful beard winds. It's a score that not only captures the wonder and excitement of the magical world, but also has an eerie, ominous tone being in a minor key. John Williams never stops proving why everyone knows his name.
Why don't you just cook the breakfast and try not to burn anything?
Bring my coffee, boy!
Hard to watch for sure. The disdain they have for the poor orphan can make your blood boil. But the payoff for Harry's true importance is so worth it. Also, I can sort of understand where these awful, terrible guardians are coming from. They know magic exists, and they're trying to keep Harry from finding out since magic is what led to Harry's parents' deaths in the first place. So much happening in such a simple scene. 7 minutes into the first film, Rowling establishes that Harry has a connection with Voldemort because of Parseltongue. His commiseration with the snake about being bred in captivity is solid character development. His first accidental spell is to set an animal free, and a smidge of comeuppance for Dudley. Oh, and he's talking to a snake, which is awesome. These owls must have bullseyed Womp Rats in their T-16s back home. I love that Harry doesn't really question what's happening or have any real emotional outburst. It's another really depressing side of the story that he wouldn't even begin to consider that he might be special. It's been so ingrained in him that he's a lower class, subhuman even.
Thank you.
I don't know if it's Columbus's direction, Rowling's writing, or Radcliffe's delivery, but just that simple
Thank you.
captures so much of what we love about Harry, as if he's never been given anything in his life. It actually chokes me up a bit. Is there some irony in an umbrella starting a fire? I feel like yes. Most everything about Harry's mistreatment is in your face, but there's even more visual winks you may not have noticed. From the iconic tape on his glasses to the clearly hand-me-down pants and shirts that don't fit him. No one is buying this kid new clothes or glasses.
And then she had you when I knew you would be the same, just as strange, just as...
With that attitude, it's a surprise Marnie hasn't channeled Voldemort to finish Harry off. Okay, that's pretty obscure considering I had to look up her name. Remember the medium in True Blood that gets possessed by Antonia and then I think something with a rocket launcher? Anyway, that's her.
I will not pay to have some crackpot old fool.
Never insult Albus Dumbledore.
Standing up for your friends. Punishment fits the crime. Love it. The sign slowly goes from black to showing what it actually is, the Leaky Cauldron, the gateway to Diagon Alley.
Harry Potter.
Reverence. I know this is different from the book since Voldemort doesn't latch onto Quirrell until after his failed Gringotts heist, but in this universe it sets him up right away with his refusal to touch Harry. This CGI is aged just fine. This movie is one more exciting magical introduction after another. This may be a lack of book knowledge on my part, but I love that the wizarding world is somewhat behind the Muggle world, as if magic sort of negated the need for a lot of technological advancement, and the technology that does exist is just different, like an alternate universe. One issue I've heard come up before is now that Harry is rich, why does he need to stay with the Dursleys after this? Who says Magic World Gold works in Muggleland? And our MacGuffin for this film is born. After all is said and done, it feels a little extraneous, but it's the catalyst for most of the plot progression and world and friendship building once we get to Hogwarts. My instinct was to make a 1984 joke, but you know what? John Hurt is always a win. He's been chest-bursted, Control, Doctor Who, Big Brothered, been Big Brothered, Elephant Man, and he's been making wands for a long time. And you've gotta love the rich wand history that's being hinted at, classified by magic, element, wood species, style? And Harry says a little crossguard.
You should be destined for this wand when its brother gave you that scar.
Further setting up the connection between Harry and Voldemort. It's almost like Rowling had this whole story planned out.
He who must not be named did great things. Terrible, but great.
Setting up the good versus evil and the gray area that exists in this magic world.
Happy birthday.
Gift giving.
We'll take the lot.
Buying candy for your new friend. Sparing us tykes the image of someone biting the head off a seemingly alive chocolate frog.
Oh, are you doing magic? Let's see then.
Maybe it's because we know she relaxes a bit in the future, but even though Hermione wastes no time establishing her pompous attitude, you can't help but love her.
Oculus Reparo.
and she wastes no time proving her magic acumen.
You've got dirt on your nose, by the way.
I used to think this was just another line item to add to the list of Hermione Granger is a bratty brat, but it's actually really considerate. Call it a compassion win. Is that Wes Gibbons?
I think I can tell the wrong sort for myself, thanks.
Wicked incendio. Notice the Sorting Hat doesn't even touch Malfoy's head, he just emanates evil. And we're introduced to our red herring for the next 7 movies. Notice Quirrell's back is to Harry when his scar starts to hurt, and Snape's almost realization that something is awry.
Not Slytherin, eh?
Harry's such a pure kid. Ron just said,
There's not a witch or wizard who went bad who wasn't in Slytherin.
so Harry's only request or wish is to not be in that house.
Begin.
Even Malfoy enjoys a good replicator trick.
Like this.
That's just gross. But what do you expect from John Cleese? J.K. Rowling predicted digital picture frames. A moment of pure happiness. You can hear the thoughts in his head. It's all been leading to something. The pain, suffering, sadness, neglect. And he doesn't even know the extent of it yet. Here's that inside track I was talking about, making us feel like we're a part of Hogwarts.
That was bloody brilliant.
Compliments.
I can teach you how to bewitch the mind and ensnare the senses.
Hans Gruber, Dr. Lazarus, Metatron, Alan Rickman is always a win. May he rest in peace.
Tell me, what would I get if I added powdered root of asphodel to an infusion of wormwood?
The screw tape letters.
Where, Mr. Potter, would you look if I asked you to find me a bezoar?
The stomach.
And what is the difference between monk's hood and wolfbane?
One's for werewolves, the other for vampires? Yeah, man, that's Wes all right. I'd recognize that dumbfounded look anywhere. J.K. Rowling predicted iPads. First evidence of how gifted a wizard Harry is.
Give it here, Malfoy.
Sticking up for basically a stranger. Harry Potter's the best. He knows a thing or two about being bullied.
Could I borrow wood for a moment, please? I have found you a seeker.
Well, if the accents weren't a giveaway, we now know 100% without question that this takes place in the UK since one of the school's house heads pulled a student out of class to discuss Quidditch, this magical world's football equivalent. Soccer to us silly Americans. Although no wonder she's invested in Quidditch. McGonagall must have a famous younger relative of some kind. I know they're supposed to be terrifying, but does anyone else think they're especially cute and would like to have them as pets?
It was standing on a trapdoor, which means it wasn't there by accident. It's guarding something.
Such great character development and character continuity building. Hermione is the only one that notices the trapdoor. Everything in this film has a sense of a long history, and Quidditch is no exception. Right down to the ornate box with little doors for the equipment. Possibly just a result of the director yelling, "All right, just look around wildly and we'll add the ball in post." Or, what I choose to believe, just solid evidence for,
damn near impossible to see.
especially given that wood isn't a seeker.
Turn around in the dungeon!
Thought you ought to know.
Warning your friends. Hermione gets a pass for pulling the old lawyer hiding from the T-Rex solution since she's 12, and she actually fared quite a bit better than he.
Wingardium Leviosa!
Saving your friends with magic.
It's my fault, Professor McGonagall. I went looking for the troll.
I can't say why the truth wasn't an option, but her intentions were to keep Harry and Ron from getting in any trouble. So, taking the blame for your friends.
5 points will be awarded to each of you.
So this is where that theory, this is all just poor Harry's schizoid delusion while trapped under the stairs at his uncle's house, starts to really make sense. Nothing like rewarding students for disobeying instructions and willfully putting their lives in danger. But, let's call it a progressive attitude win.
For sheer dumb luck.
Or that, dumb luck win. That's better. Rowling invented a new sport, and it's pretty cool. And it's co-ed. Yay, feminism. Whoa, easy there. That's a girl. Yay, feminism. Kinda goes without saying in a team sport, but teamwork. The flying is a bit wonky at times, but who am I to say what magical flying looks like? Looks like fun to me. I love how they use the misdirection of Snape. We learn that it's not that he's working against Harry, he's just always in a bad mood because he's freaking Alan Rickman and he can do what he wants. One of the many payoffs for the underdog. You can't help but feel the pure joy in Harry's heart to be accepted and even celebrated by his peers and superiors. Real-life chest shadowing. One of the more fun things in the Harry Potter films are the subtle and not-so-subtle seasonal markers. Always done in a way that you barely notice you're being given visual exposition.
Looks like you got one too. I've got presents.
Another break your heart, warm your heart moment from Harry, because he's likely never gotten a Christmas present in his life. You can't hide. Apparently Filch doesn't know about invisibility cloaks. But you can hide from cats. They see your soul. First clue is desire. Then you look at the words and you see this. Then you flip it around and you fix the spacing, and your mind gets blown. This is most likely just a technique to differentiate between reality and what's in the mirror, but it's also an example of Harry's oppression. As Dumbledore puts it,
It shows us the deepest, desperate desires of our heart.
Even Harry's deepest desires take a second to come into focus because he's had to suppress them for so long. Also utterly heartbreaking. The magic world is such an interesting concept. It parallels reality in a lot of ways. Every super special thing generally has a catch, like the Mirror of Erised, for example. You'll see things that bring you joy, but ultimately,
Men have wasted away in front of it.
they generally also offer up some lessons about life.
It does not do to dwell on dreams, Harry.
Nicholas Flamel is the only known maker of the Philosopher's Stone.
What?
I know, right? I swear he was a sorcerer.
Was it on detention would find you hanging by your thumbs in the dungeons? God, I'll miss the screaming.
Reminiscing.
And there are werewolves.
Nah, Remus wasn't around yet, unless you're thinking of Sirius? I wish I could say people's names I dislike with the disdain Malfoy manages to say.
Potter.
Man, you've got to be a loyal servant to drink mercury-looking animal blood. That's creepy. And very snake-like. Continuity win. Anyone else have flashes of Kevin Sorbo just now? Just me?
Who's the one wizard Voldemort always feared? As long as Dumbledore's around, you can't be touched.
Wow. Even that's set up in this first movie. Just, wow. How does Hagrid know Hedwig's theme?
You received an urgent out.
Ha! Urgent owl. Only Maggie Smith could say that with a straight face. Poor Neville. 5 points for Neville Longbottom. I mean, wins. I mean, 1 win. I mean, it's actually Hermione's win for Iceman magic.
You're a little scary sometimes.
Honesty. If that's not the alien nest that swallows up Ripley, yep, it is.
It's too simple.
Intuition. This whole story does have a very predestination, destiny, fate feeling to it. Without his time as a seeker, Harry may not have been able to catch the key. And in real life, Wizards chess match montage is the fastest way to get sympathy from your future girlfriend. Self-sacrifice.
Stuttering Professor Quirrell.
What a twist, especially for the intended audience, which is mid-30s women, right?
What is it? What do you see?
I've won the House Cup.
I know it's not exactly Ron's vision, but I love that Harry pulls from it as if he really doesn't know what a kid his age would desire, since he just wants to not be an orphan slave. And then a twist inside a twist. Such good stuff. Ghost headbutt.
Only a person who wanted to find the stone but not use it would be able to get it.
Smart spell. I can think of a number of things that would apply to.
All right there, Ron. All right. You? All right.
They're just babies. I don't know why that's a win, other than to say some great performances from some really young actors. For a children's movie, the gray area between good and bad, right and wrong is pretty big. I think they probably give our main trio a little too much leeway and continually reward them for breaking rules because of the end result. But they also award Neville for doing the right thing, even though had he been successful, he would have prevented said result.
Thanks, Hagrid.
Gotta love this relationship. Harry credits Hagrid for saving him from the Dursleys and introducing him to his true heritage. And their friendship is set up right in the beginning with the secret they share about Dudley's tale. Also hugging. What a way to kick off a magical series. Now, I like Harry Potter. I've always enjoyed this film. But it wasn't until I watched it with my wife, who has a tiny blonde girl living inside her who varies in age from 5 to 12, that I fully appreciated the excitement that people went through for this movie. Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone is something really, really, really special.
You're a wizard, Harry.
Not only does it set up an incredibly detailed, unique magical world and series, including an overarching villain, one of the best red herring villains ever put to screen, and a three-way relationship that only gets better and better, but it's also a fantastic standalone film that doesn't even need a follow-up. There's more than enough excitement, magic, and adventure in this film to support itself. The way Rowling managed to weave a detailed story that spans multiple books, films through a fairly linear narrative is thoroughly impressive. And while I was never the die-hardiest of die-hard Potter fans, after viewing it with a critical eye, my mind is blown at the number of story threads that are set up and that she managed to keep us enthralled for so many stories after this one. You could complain that the Ex Machina devices and MacGuffins come and go and are never used more than once. But that's the strength of this world she's built. She managed to find new and interesting ways to solve problems. And a lot of the character development of our main characters is done through problem and riddle solving. Obviously Harry gets the most to do, decodes the most puzzles, and at the very least has the best knack for flying, but each of them has their own unique skills. There is something about the way these kids act. It's cheesy, on the nose, goofy even sometimes.
What an idiot.
Emma Watson is the hammiest of hams, but it's also so heartwarming. You can tell that they really love what they're doing so much. The characters are one of the best things this universe has to offer. Some of the most detestable and lovable. Hagrid has to be my favorite.
Shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have said that.
I shouldn't have told you that.
I shouldn't have told you that.
He's just a giant teddy bear, and Dumbledore's endorsement should mean a lot.
I would trust Hagrid with my life.
The second most important star of this film is Hogwarts itself and the magical world we're introduced to. The level of detail in this movie is amazing. I already talked about Quidditch, but also there's so often something happening in the background. So much care went into making this world right. I know not every book fan was pleased, but a lot were overjoyed seeing the images they'd painted in their minds come to life. There are themes aplenty in this film that I already touched on, the blurry line between good and evil, family and friendship, free will and predestination. We're shown so many similarities between Harry and Voldemort, and even the Sorting Hat isn't sure what to do with Harry.
When you can join me and live.
This call from Voldemort may seem like a typical villain trope or even a trick because of the prophecy, but Harry's powerful and Voldemort recognizes that. Fortunately, Harry chooses, to the best of his ability, good. The biggest theme in this film has to be love. It's what separates Harry from Voldemort, and it's what saved his life twice now. What a great role model. Modest, puts others first, stands up for injustice. A real underdog story we can all relate to.
A wizard.
Or, he's a crazy orphan boy trapped under the stairs having delusions of grandeur. Whatever. I'm pretty sure you're all figments of my imagination. This much positivity doesn't exist in the real world. But hey, hasn't stopped me yet. Let's see what Ron thinks about that.
Shut up, Harry.